So today I'm talking about AI, how to implement AI into your business. So if you're new to AI and you have an existing business, I want to talk about all the steps that you could go through to implement AI into your business, large or small, bricks and mortar service, online business, doesn't really matter, to help you grow and scale your business over time. So thanks for joining. So what I'm going to start with is, when I think about AI, I like to slow it down, right? What I've got here is start slowly with knowledge. I think if you have a business and you're a new business, maybe you're 1 or 2 years into it, look, you could be an existing company been operating for 10. What I'm seeing is people try to implement and execute AI into their business and they actually don't know how to do that. They don't know where to do it. They want to do it and they sort of don't know why. They know it can make them more efficient. What they haven't done is they haven't broken down their workflows. And I think you should do that. Break down your workflows and go slow and start with user experience. Like, my goal is to focus on UX, right? So if we're going to implement AI, is to go slow with it, and how do we increase user engagement? And then the second thing we did was we started to build bots for customers, right? So if a customer didn't want to speak to someone on the phone or send an email and wait for that email 24 hours later, they could talk live to a bot that we had trained for 2 years on a public website and get the information they wanted quickly, right? So my thing on that is just think, right? Bring people together, have some dialogue around it and think about, okay, so this is what it is. These are the capabilities. The first thing you want to identify is, do we have the skill set inside the business? If you don't, you're going to have to outsource it. But who do you outsource? So be careful, because I hear some horror stories about people spending tens of thousands of dollars and not getting the result they wanted because the people they hired weren't the right people. So depending on what major city you're in, what region you're in, will give you access to the talent, right? If you have to outsource that talent internationally, well, you should do that. I think there's some great places, and obviously in the United States, in Boston, New York, Silicon Valley, where some of these companies occupy those spaces. So go slow is the rule there. That's my first number one thing. And I would spend so much time planning and thinking about it and talking to colleagues and experts in the industry and try and figure out what's the 1, 2, or 3 things I can do to implement inside my business that are low cost, but have high value to the customer. And number 2, use AI for customer support, if you can do that. So you have to break that down. If you're a retail store, it may look like you're using AI to answer phones, reply to emails, right? SMSs, you just sort of have to figure out what that looks like. Customer support could also be in terms of how they purchase, in terms of the information that you provide to them. Chatbots are certainly part of that. You should do that. There's a couple of platforms like Zendesk AI, Intercom, and TDO, 3 of the bigger platforms out on the market currently that you could use to do all of that sort of automation stuff in terms of how you provide those great services to your customer. I like the idea of bots being able to be awake 24/7, right? They never go to sleep, they never get sick, they never take Christmas off. They're always there to support your customer. As long as you train them well. And I always say, be honest about it. So if you're going to deploy that out to your customer base, tell them that that's an AI. Don't hide it and try and mask it as a human. In actual fact, we found that they pivoted more into using the AI than they did into calling the customer service team. On to number 3, automate repetitive tasks. So in your workflow, you have to break down what your workflow looks like, right? Inside the workflow. So you've got a broad scope of how your business operates. You have to build a workflow underlying that. And you might break it down into departments. For my company, it's sales, marketing, operations. And then there's management, which sort of has its own. And then we have trainers, right? Those are our departments. And inside those, so we have a broad workflow and then we have a subset workflow. And then each of those workflows we pull out and then we figure out, okay, where are the 1 or 2 places in that workflow where we can enhance it by using AI? There's a whole bunch of tools out there. Calendar reminders, right? So the system, you use Zapier, for example, if you're using Calendly and Zapier together to send reminders to the customer, sure that you get a solid pickup rate for the appointment, right? You may be able to trigger information to them before they get to that appointment. Those sorts of repetitive tasks where a human would normally send an email. You may release an article on your website. So the AI, you can drop it in there, and what it does is it sends it to your customer before the appointment. So you're educating your customer before they get to that call. And what it does, it increases your pickup ratios, right? And overall, that your customer's just better educated. You could use it in answering calls and responding to calls, where the AI can answer the phone and then based on the right trigger, it can send an email or an SMS to a live person in the team who can then continue with the communication for that customer. So escalating those calls. So there's all those sorts of things it can do. We use Zapier and Microsoft Power Automate to do some of those tasks, right? And it's pretty critical. And I know it may seem like, hey, it's only 10, 15, 20, 30, 60 seconds, right? 1 minute. If you scale that 100, 1,000 times, you're becoming very efficient very quickly, and you're saving costs all at the same time. And you can save a large amount of costs, operational expenditure and resource costs. Personalized marketing. There's a whole range of tools in the market, man. It is incredible. This is probably the most popular space for AI at the moment. So dev is really, really big in this space, and it can do a lot of things. I know HubSpot and Salesforce are the two biggest CRM platforms on the planet. We use ActiveCampaign, we use Aircall and those types of SaaS platforms who do have artificial intelligence in it, so I can talk about that. What HubSpot and Salesforce are doing, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that they're investing a lot in AI, and I know that it's pretty goddamn awesome, is what I hear. So we are in the process next quarter to start to look at some of those innovations in those bigger platforms like HubSpot and Salesforce. I think they call it Salesforce Einstein, not too sure. I think it's a separate part to the overall CRM system, but I've heard some pretty good things about them. Personalized marketing, so what does that mean? Obviously you can use triggers to send certain emails, EDMs from the system at certain points of the sales process. If they click on that page or they do this or they click on that link and they watch that video, you can trigger all these emails that are personalized based on the action that they just did inside your funnel, which is awesome. You can shoot a video, a personalized sales video or communication video to a client. You can grab that video and the AI can scan that video and then change the name and align it with the name that's in the CRM. Would also change the visual aesthetics of the mouth of the human who's communicating the name. And the AI software will do that on the video itself and then trigger through Zapier or any other sort of automation to send it to the customer. And it can happen super fast. So you only need to record the video once, and you can just send it out to all your clients 1,000 times, seamlessly, by the way. I've looked at that software and it's pretty good. We don't use it, but we are planning on doing that at some stage, I guess. But you know, I like the idea of being organic. I love that idea of just, you know, people talking to people, pretty old school, but I still think you can integrate AI into that without losing the integrity of real people, live people talking to customers. I think my idea and concept of it would be is use AI to filter and bring the customer through the funnel to the bottom of the funnel and then escalate it to a person, right? And in itself, that makes the business more efficient, and it also gives a great experience for the user. Use AI for contracts. So a business like us, and any business in fact, will have contracts, right? They'll have employment contracts, legal contracts, terms and conditions, they'll have MDAs, a whole bunch of contracts, right? There's all this legal documentation floating around. AI is moving into the legal space, and I think pretty aggressively. My take would be that would be one of the biggest spaces that will be disrupted, will be legal firms losing work to technology. And the thing about that is that you could drop the legislation of America into a large language model, and it would be able to learn it and provide you with advice better than a lawyer could, which is pretty scary, right? I remember a story that I saw in a YouTube video. It was Peter Diamandis interviewing somebody, Salim Ismail, I think. He said, when you go to the doctor, your local GP, right? Ask your doctor when was the last time he read the latest medical journal. Here's the number, 7,000 medical journals are released every day in America, 7,000. Next time you go to a GP, ask him how many out of that 7,000 journals that he read, and the answer is 0. And then he said, how many do you think AI or ChatGPT can read? And he says, probably read all of them. The integration of AI into medical practices, especially surgeries, using and leveraging that AI as an advisor, and legal context is going to do the same thing. I think, you know, in medical practice and in legal contractual practices, just because it's heavily based on text, right? So legislation is basically text formatted through bills, through government, states and federal constitutions, and it all comes together under one roof. And the AI can grab that and learn it pretty quickly. We use AI inside the business for legal contracts. So we get an old contract that was written by a lawyer. So we copy the whole document or just upload the document into ChatGPT. After we've trained the document, it poked a lot of holes in our documentation, right? So the human wrote the contract. We paid probably, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 for an employment contract. ChatGPT had a look at it and probably under maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, summarized all the issues with it, all the liability and the risk with it, in 2 minutes, and then it corrected it for us. You know, we spent $15,000, $20,000 on that contract. It probably took 30 days to get it done, and many meetings and time and resources, right, as I started this company and startup, and invested all that money in a contract I thought was a great contract. It pointed out the legislation in which the risk was pursuant, and then we had to go through, and then it fixed it for us. And we just spent some time going through and amending a few things here and there, and then it was done, right? And it rewrote the whole contract for us in alignment with the legislation. Like, it was incredible. Like, you can do it in so many different things. Grab all your documentation, put it in there, ask it to summarize it for you, ask it to identify risk for you. You know, if you're leasing vehicles, get the lease, drop it in there before you sign it, and ask it to highlight any risk. And here's the thing, most people don't understand legal documentation, right? It's very complex and it's written that way on purpose. By the way, ChatGPT is probably the best tool for that. and there's another one called Jasper. There's also ChatGPT Legal. Those are some of the platforms that we use. Number 6, make data-driven decisions with predictive analytics. So predictive analytics, what that means is if you got your P&L, your forecast, all your previous sales data, and you put it in there, it's going to give you some trends. It's going to show you what's not working, what's good, and give you some trends for forecasting. We do that, and we just did that on our next annual forecast into 2025, and it gave us some trends. It gave us really good seasonality, and it just helped us confirm our own seasonality on peaks and troughs during our financial year. So it reinforced that the decisions we were making were good decisions, right? It didn't tell us that anything was bad. We were actually pretty good with our forecasting. It gave us a bit of a lens on a few key pieces of information that we missed in terms of connection rate for our customers was declining. Our numbers were out, so we got all of our data from our phone system. We dropped it in there and hey presto. There's a couple of tools out there that you could use. Tableau's one and Google Cloud AI is another. Where you can just sort of push all that information into it, and it can give you some predictions based on the information that you feed it. Number 7, optimize systems and processes. I talk about workflows a lot. Policies and processes are different to workflow. Workflow is a broad scope of 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to 10, right? But if you look inside that, there's all these processes that sit under those numbers. I'm getting all about systems and processes. I'm going to drop it in there, and I'm asking it to find efficiencies and breaks and kinks in our systems, right, and our processes, and get them to revise it and simplify them. I get the AI to simplify the processes for me, so to read through it and just say, hey, here's a better way through, right? But you have to give it the end result for it to be able to do that. An important thing to understand. Number 8, boost cybersecurity. Pretty big, right? I think cybersecurity is going to be one of the biggest markets on the planet, and it's happening now. The thing about AI, it's going to help you curve cybersecurity and improve in those areas. The hackers also get access to all that technology, right? So they get better. So it's going to be a challenging time over the next 10 years while we're trying to figure out how to do that. There's a couple of tools that I've looked at, Darktrace and CrowdStrike. I know CrowdStrike had a bit of a hit in the market recently. Prior to that, look, they've been pretty solid and they're a good company, right? So there's a couple of tools that you could probably look at to boost your cybersecurity needs for your company. I think you can improve product development. Number 9. When I say improve product development, I mean, you could use it to fix your product. That's one thing you could do, but you can use it to interpret the market, right? You can design your product to meet the market demand. So give it all the information from the market. You can get that from BAs, from a whole bunch of different places. You'll find it online. You give it to the AI, and the AI will tell you the trends in the market over a time horizon. So it can help you predict and look at what your market's going to be like in a few years' time. Look, it's not 100%, but it gives you something to think about. Feedly's one platform, and BuzzSumo, they're another platform that I've played around with. They're pretty good, but there's a lot of improvement happening in that space. I think for marketing companies, that's probably something that they're going to dive into, and devs are going to get really focused on building predictive tools, right? Streamline HR management. I talk a lot about recruiting talent, right? Talent. If anything is going to grow your business, it's going to be good quality talent. And we all suck at recruitment. It's such a challenging space for people, and no one gets it right. If you're getting it wrong, it's okay. No harm, no foul. We all get it wrong. If you're using a major platform like Monster or Seek or any of those types of platforms, right, you don't get a lot of good quality through. So what you do is you feed in the criteria of what you're looking for, right? And you train it, right? And you can train it per position, whether it's a sales manager or a sales agent or a line manager or an operations manager. It doesn't really matter. You can train it using GPTs, right? Once you've done that and you get all those applications through from one of those big platforms, and you may get 100 through. Like, I think our last number was we got just over 90 applications through, and there were only 3 that were any good. So what happens is normally a human will go through and look at 93 applications. Yeah, don't do that. You don't need to. What you need to do is you need to get all those applications, you upload them, and you get the AI to basically filter for you, right? And then the ones that are remaining, you get them to write a synopsis or summary on those applicants, including the location, experience, tenure, all those sorts of things, and it can do a quick summary for you, and it spits out a document that's going to give you short, sharp information based on the criteria that you've trained it, right? And it's super fast. So you can take a recruitment process from 30 days down to 3 days. Like, just that's incredible. Great, so there are my top 10. If you're looking to implement AI into your business, those are my top 10. A couple of warning signs, right? Some of the biggest mistakes I see business owners do is that they're running too fast into it, and they're pulling resources from their existing teams. And what happens when you do that? You over-resource your team, you get past your burn rate, and then you start stressing everybody out. And then their actual job that they're paid for, you pull the IT guy in to do all this AI stuff, and now all your systems administration falls over. So just be careful, go slow, plan it and put it on paper, but you should commit time to thinking about it. My thing, if you want to implement AI in your business, we've got a 30-day plan of thought. Think about it, put it on paper, write a business case. The next 30 days, you're going to review that business case. And then in the next 30 days, totally 90 days, you're going to find your implementation strategy, and you're only going to focus on 3 things. Don't focus on 20, focus on 3. Try and make those 3 connected to user experience if you can. I think that's a really good place to start. Or bring it inside the business and focus on efficiencies to scale for places like operations, sales, right, and marketing. I think those are the best things to do. But take your time. That's the golden rule here. Don't overdo it because it's new technology and it's moving rapidly and it's being built really fast and things are changing so quickly. And if you don't have anyone in your business, please be careful when you hire somebody, because there's a lot of people out in the market who are saying that they have all these courses and all this expertise in the market, but they don't. They're using your money to train themselves. So I think companies and small and young business owners should be privy to that and be careful. So that's all I've got. Thank you for joining. Hey, there's a fact sheet. Click on the link to download that. It'll give you all the platforms that I spoke about in this episode today. And thank you for joining.